Welcome to World War II Indiana Landmarks, Episode 10, the World War II Memorial for Putnam County in Greencastle. I'm your host, Ron May, author of the book World War II Indiana Landmarks. This episode features a memorial in Greencastle, located 40 miles southwest of Indianapolis off Highway 231 in downtown Greencastle. War memorials that incorporate military equipment or artifacts usually use U.S. or Allied pieces. Tanks and artillery are popular choices. When Putnam County, Indiana created their memorial for World War II veterans, they took a completely different approach. They used a surviving German V-1 flying buzz bomb, one of over 30,000 built by the Germans during World War II. The location of the memorial is on the southwest corner of the Putnam County Courthouse in downtown Greencastle. This plane-like bomb looks like an antiquated missile ready to launch an attack from the sky. During World War II, it was used as a vengeance weapon upon England. Built by German scientists working for the Luftwaffe, it was first designed in 1939 as one of the earliest auto-guided missile systems. The V-1 could be launched on the ground from an elevated track or secured to the underside of a bomber and dropped from the air. Hitler began using it in 1944 against England as a terror bomb. The V-1 was 27 feet long, 17 feet wide, and almost 5 feet tall. It weighed 4,740 pounds, which included its 2,000-pound warhead. It could travel distances of up to 160 miles at a speed of 400 miles per hour and at an altitude between 2,000 and 3,000 feet. Germany produced 30,000 of them. That Hitler was using the pilotless missiles at all was evidence of his diminishing fleet of planes and pilots in the Luftwaffe. In 1940, the German Luftwaffe had begun their bombing blitz over London. While the bombs dropped from German planes resulted in much destruction of property and considerable loss of life, the cost in loss of Nazi planes and pilots proved to be too high for the Germans to sustain their air attacks. Thanks to the great aerial defense of England by British Spitfires and other planes, the Luftwaffe stopped their aerial attacks over England in May 1941. 3 years later, Germany resumed their aerial bombing over London on June 13, 1944, this time using their pilotless V-1. Largely a response to the Allied landing at Normandy, the V-1s were launched from ground facilities along the Pas-de-Calais on the French coast, with London as their target. From June through October that year, over 9,500 V-1 missiles were launched toward London. At times, more than 100 of them were launched in one day. John Jack Welsh observed several V-1s in flight over England while serving in the U.S. Navy on an LCI, landing craft infantry. The Greenfield, Indiana native enlisted in the Navy in February 1942. He became an engineering officer assigned to LCI 517. One of the Navy's many landing craft infantry large vessels that transported troops to the shore. Welsh's ship arrived on the English coast in March 1944 to participate in training exercises for the upcoming invasion at Normandy. It was from there that he saw the buzz bombs flying overhead. As we went from port to port along England's southern coast, we frequently heard and then saw the German V-1 and V-2 jet-propelled bombs. He recalled in an unpublished memoir he wrote for his family in 2004. The V-1 bombs sounded like outboard motors as they flew along. They were only about 500 to 1,000 feet high, so they were very visible from the ship and from the countryside. Here is a 15-second video clip of what a V-1 buzz bomb sounds like. Welsh continued in his memoir, "As long as the bombs kept going, we knew we were safe. However, when the engine stopped, the bomb, which looked like a small plane, went down and exploded. I am sure that they did quite a lot of damage and killed many people, but we usually did not see the newspapers, so we did not know how many people were killed or how much damage was done. Thankfully, none of them dropped on us." Upon impact, the V-1 lived up to its German title, Vengeance Weapon. Of the almost 10,000 buzz bombs that were fired at England, 2,419 hit targets in and near London, killing 6,184 Brits and injuring 17,981. The explosions also caused significant damage to buildings and property. British Spitfire pilots developed an ingenious aerial technique to bring the V-1 down before it reached its target. They would fly alongside the V-1 and then use the tip of their wings to tilt the V-1 wing off course. Once tipped, the gyroscope in the V-1 would cause the rocket to plummet off course before it reached its intended destination. The use of the V-1 bombs on England progressively lessened after the Allied troops chased the Germans out of Normandy. Air and ground forces in France located and disarmed the rockets and their launch pads. By October 1944, the Allies had captured or destroyed most of the V-1 launching sites in coastal France, bringing an end to their vengeance upon London. 3 years later, one of those surviving V-1 bombs arrived in Greencastle, Indiana, through the efforts of local resident James Frank Durham. Durham was a Navy veteran of World War II, serving in bomb disposal on Guadalcanal and later instructing the proper handling of explosive ordnance at the National Air Technical Training Center in Jacksonville, Florida. Following the war, Durham served as a naval reservist. In 1947, during his 2 weeks of annual training for explosive ordnance demolition at Fort Stumpneck, Maryland, he learned that a buzz bomb in U.S. possession was about to be destroyed due to a lack of storage space. Thinking the bomb would make a great exhibit back in his hometown, he inquired about taking possession of it. He was told by his commanding officer that it would probably take an act of Congress to receive permission. Undeterred, Durham began the process of petitioning Congress through Indiana Senator William Jenner. By February 1948, Congress had approved his request for the bomb to be transferred to the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 1550 in Greencastle, which offered its assistance with the effort to display and dedicate it as a veterans memorial. The V-1 in Greencastle rests on a large limestone base that is in the shape of a V. The base was designed by DePauw University student Art Perry. The limestone for the base was graciously donated by former Indiana State Senator William B. Hoadley of Bloomington, who was part owner of the Indiana Limestone Company in Bloomington. Hughes had lost his only son, Staff Sergeant William Hughes Hoadley, age 20, in October 1944 during combat in Luxembourg. On the ground next to the limestone base is a marker that provides a brief description of the buzz bomb and states, "It is intended as a memorial to the men of Putnam County who lost their lives in World War II." It might seem peculiar at first for the citizens of Putnam County to have a German weapon of vengeance on display at their courthouse. Even more so to use it as a memorial for the men from their county who died in that war. However, the peculiarity of the V1's presence is ingenious. While it was a weapon the Germans used against the Allies, it was a weapon that ultimately, like every German weapon, was silenced because of the Allied air attacks and infantry advance that eventually killed or chased away the men needed to launch the V1. In retrospect, the limestone V platform of the memorial represents the first letter for victory over Germany. Putnam County pays tribute to their husbands, sons, brothers, and friends who secured that victory with their lives. Only 2 V1s are on display in the United States today. The other one is located at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. Learn more about the Putnam County World War II Memorial in my new book, World War II Indiana Landmarks, available for purchase on my website or wherever books are sold. And while on my website, check out my trilogy of Indiana World War II service stories. Thanks for tuning in to this episode.